Have you ever met a complete stranger but felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity, as if everything around you synchronized to make that connection inevitable? Have you ever experienced coincidences so incredible that it seemed as if the universe was deliberately orchestrating events? Carl Jung, the renowned 20th century psychologist, called this synchronicity, meaningful coincidences. Jung believed that the universe is not merely a chain of random, aimless events. It is a reflection of the collective unconscious, where memories, symbols, and archetypes exist and shape the events of our lives. Every extraordinary encounter carries a hidden message, an echo from the depths of our inner selves. When you meet someone and feel as though you've known them for a long time, or when paths keep crossing repeatedly, it may not be a coincidence. It might be the universe sending signals, inviting you to explore something far beyond ordinary understanding. In this video, we will explore the signs the universe sends when it wants you to be with someone special, signs that are not merely the workings of fate, but awakenings from within you. Let's embark on a journey to decode these messages through the lens of Carl Jung to gain a deeper understanding of how the universe weaves our souls together. Number 1. Signs from the universe. According to Carl Jung, number 1, unexpected and meaningful coincidences, synchronicity. Carl Jung introduced the concept of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences, as a way for the universe to communicate with us. Not every event that happens is random. Sometimes, unexpected coincidences appear at exactly the right moment, leaving us astonished. These are the synchronized moments between the inner and outer worlds, a miraculous intersection between consciousness and the unconscious. Jung once said, "Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see." This means that coincidences are not meaningless occurrences, but rather meaningful messages if we are conscious enough to recognize them. When the universe wants you to be with someone, it creates unexpected yet deeply symbolic moments, making you pause and wonder if this is a sign of destiny. Imagine you are thinking about an old friend you haven't seen for a long time, and suddenly, at that very moment, you receive a message from them. Or you are reading a book on psychology, pondering over a deep personal question, and right after, a quote from Jung appears, answering exactly what you were contemplating. These are not mere random events. They are synchronized moments between the inner and outer worlds, between personal and collective unconscious. A classic example of this in real life is the story of the famous psychologist Jung and one of his patients. During a therapy session, the woman was recounting a strange dream about a golden scarab. At that very moment, as she was sharing the dream with skepticism about its meaning, a golden scarab suddenly flew into the room through the window. Jung was astonished, as the appearance of the beetle in real life mirrored the patient's dream in a stunning way. For him, this was a clear manifestation of synchronicity, when mind and matter meet in a moment of significance. Jung observed, "We often meet our destiny on the road we take to avoid it." Synchronicity is not only limited to encounters between people, but also encompasses events and situations that bear similar significance. Some people recount that when they were going through a tough time in life, a complete stranger approached them, shared their story, and unintentionally offered the exact advice they needed. This experience made them feel as if the universe was sending them a distant message through someone they had never met. In romantic relationships, synchronicity also appears mysteriously. Have you ever met someone and instantly felt as if you've known them for a long time? Or have you experienced connections where, despite the circumstances, you and that person always find each other at life's crossroads? According to Jung, This is not a meaningless coincidence. It is an expression of the archetypes in the collective unconscious working powerfully. In his book, Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung explained, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. This shows that destined relationships do not merely affect one side, but genuinely transform both individuals. Jung believed that not everything should be explained by reason. Instead, we must learn to listen to intuition and trust the signals from within. Synchronicity is how the universe communicates with us, bridging the visible and the invisible, the conscious and the unconscious. When you find yourself meeting a special person at exactly the moment you need them most, think of Jung. Perhaps it is the universe's message, signaling that this person has arrived to help you integrate a part of your soul that is yet to be fulfilled. In the journey of individuation, the process of becoming a whole person according to Jung's philosophy, synchronicities play a crucial role. They help us realize that relationships are not merely social interactions, but also opportunities to learn, discover, and understand ourselves. Sometimes, people enter our lives not necessarily to love us, but to awaken forgotten parts of our unconscious. Signs from the universe are not limited to real-world events. They also manifest mysteriously through recurring dreams and symbols. This is how the unconscious connects more deeply with our souls. Number 2. Symbols and dreams. Continuing the flow of synchronicity, another form the universe often uses to send signals is through symbols and dreams. If real-world synchronicity is how the universe orchestrates meaningful coincidences, then in the depths of sleep, the unconscious uses a more ancient language, the language of symbols. Carl Jung believed that dreams are not merely reflections of chaotic daytime thoughts, but are direct connections to the collective unconscious, where timeless images and symbols are stored. In his book, Man and His Symbols, Jung wrote, "Dreams are the main outlet through which the unconscious communicates with the conscious mind. When you repeatedly dream of someone, or when a symbol appears again and again with intensity, it is not just random repetition." Jung believed these dreams are messages sent from the unconscious, a way for the universe to remind you of something important that your conscious mind has yet to recognize. For example, some people recount dreaming of wandering through a dark forest repeatedly, always being guided by a mysterious stranger. This person's face is unclear, yet there is always a sense of familiarity and safety. Later, when they meet their life partner, they are astonished to realize that the figure in their dreams mirrors the essence and gaze of that person. This experience leads them to believe that the universe had sent messages through their dreams to prepare them for this destined meeting. Not only do familiar images appear, but dreams are also where ancient symbols manifest vividly. Jung called these archetypes universal symbolic images that exist within the collective unconscious of humanity, such as the mother, the hero, the shadow, or the mysterious lover. When you dream of a specific symbol like a never-ending road, a locked door, or a raging river, these are not meaningless images. They represent stages in your journey of individuation, the process of seeking self-discovery and unity within. Jung once recounted the story of one of his patients who frequently dreamed of being submerged in a vast river. The man would wake up in fear, unable to explain why the dream persisted. After many therapy sessions, Jung helped him realize that the river symbolized repressed emotions, things he had never confronted in real life. The dream was sending him a message to face his inner fears, leading him toward transformation and self-awareness. Furthermore, Jung believed that when you repeatedly dream of a particular person, especially someone you cannot stop thinking about, it could signify a strong spiritual connection. He called this the connection of unconscious energy fields, where two souls seem to have a bond, even if they have never met in reality. In dreams, these connections become clearer, as logic is stripped away, allowing the unconscious to speak freely. One story Jung shared was of a woman he once treated, who would often dream of standing before an old house with a large red door. She could not open it, but each time she dreamed, she felt that someone was waiting behind it. Months later, she met a man at a seminar and felt an instant connection. As they shared their memories, she was astonished to discover that the house from her dreams was the house where he grew up as a child, with the same red door she had seen. Jung called this timeless synchronicity, where the unconscious connects two souls through the language of dreams before they even meet in real life. Dreams are not just reflections of memories or daytime events. They are bridges to what the unconscious longs to reveal. When you repeatedly dream about someone, it is not merely longing. It could be a part of your individuation journey. Perhaps the universe is inviting you to confront hidden aspects of your mind, or leading you closer to someone with whom you share a strong spiritual bond. Jung also emphasized, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. So, if you find yourself experiencing recurring dreams with powerful symbols, do not ignore them. That is the universe calling you to awaken, inviting you to look within, to discover the deeper meanings of seemingly random connections. When you fall into sleep, remember that it is not just a resting state for the body, but also a journey of the mind into the depths of the unconscious, where the universe whispers its secrets through images and symbols. Every encounter in dreams, every unfinished path, every hazy face, all contain messages waiting for you to decode. The universe is always communicating with us. Sometimes we just need to close our eyes to listen. Number 3. Unexplainable strong connection. There are encounters in life that bring along a strange feeling that the mind cannot explain. From the very first moment, a glance exchanged, a smile shared, an invisible string seems to connect two souls. There is no need for many words, no need to try to impress. The familiarity and closeness naturally appear, as if both have walked side by side through many past lives. Carl Jung called this phenomenon archetype recognition. According to Jung, this is not just a random coincidence or a fleeting feeling, but rather the way the collective unconscious connects us with those who hold significant meaning in our life journey. When such encounters cannot be explained by words, we begin to understand that perhaps it is the universe's way of arranging for two souls to find each other amidst the vastness of the world. According to Jung, our collective unconscious not only holds personal memories, but also preserves shared images and archetypes of all humanity over thousands of years. These archetypes can represent images such as the hero, the mother, the wanderer, or even the destined lover. When we meet someone who feels familiar even from the first glance, it may be the awakening of those archetypes lying dormant in the unconscious. Imagine you walk into a room full of strangers, but with just one look, you are instantly drawn to someone you have never met. It's not because of outstanding appearance, nor due to words or gestures, but simply because their presence brings a strange sense of familiarity. That feeling cannot be explained by logic or reason, but it is strong and captivating enough that you cannot ignore it. This is archetype recognition. Your soul seems to have met this person somewhere before, perhaps in the unconscious, perhaps in a dream, or even in another lifetime. Carl Jung believed that such encounters are not coincidental. They are manifestations of the archetype of destined love, anima and animus, a connection that transcends time and space. In Jungian psychology, Anima is the ideal feminine image in a man's soul, while animus is the ideal masculine image in a woman's soul. When we meet someone who awakens these archetypes, the feeling of connection becomes powerful and intimate, beyond explanation. It is not mere surface attraction, but a bond from the unconscious, from the deepest layers of the soul. Jung further explained in Memories, Dreams, Reflections that in each of us there is another whom we do not know. He speaks to us in dreams and tells us how differently he sees us from the way we see ourselves. This is why when you meet the right person, it feels as if you have been awakened, as if they hold a missing piece of your soul. That encounter is not just a superficial connection. It is the harmony of two souls on the journey of individuation. There are people you meet for the first time, yet it feels as if you have known them your entire life. Every conversation flows naturally, without force or awkwardness. Time spent together passes swiftly, yet it leaves behind deep, lasting emotions. Many describe this as a soul connection. You do not need to try to impress or understand each other, for their mere presence brings about a natural understanding. Jung called this a numinous experience, a powerful spiritual experience that transcends ordinary understanding. Another interesting example is the story of the two famous writers, C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien. They first met at Oxford University and immediately felt a strong connection through their shared love of literature and philosophy. They were not only friends, but also collaborators, spiritual companions for many years. That encounter not only led to the creation of literary classics, but also helped both of them explore themselves more deeply through endless conversations. Jung believed that when two souls resonate at the same frequency, the universe arranges for them to meet, so that they may awaken parts of their subconscious long forgotten. Jung once wrote, "We are not what happened to us, we are what we choose to become." Every encounter is not mere coincidence, but a delicate arrangement by the unconscious. When you meet someone who feels familiar from the very beginning, let your soul listen. Perhaps it is the whisper of the universe, a timeless connection that Jung explained through archetypes and synchronicity. These connections not only help us understand ourselves better, but also serve as gateways leading us into the journey of exploring the deep layers of the unconscious. Perhaps that person comes not only to accompany you, but to awaken a part of your soul that has long been asleep. And if we are sensitive enough to listen, courageous enough to open our hearts, we will realize that this connection is not just a fleeting encounter, but a call to awakening from the universe itself. Number 4. Paths that always cross. Have you ever wondered why there are some people who, no matter where you go or what you do, always seem to reappear in your life? Not just once, but repeatedly, to the point where it leaves you astonished. Is that mere coincidence, or is it a subtle arrangement by the universe? Carl Jung believed that when two souls resonate deeply, the universe will find every way for their paths to cross, regardless of geographical distance or the changes in life. Jung called this the merging of personal unconscious and collective unconscious, where archetypes within each person create an invisible pull, leading two people to find each other amidst countless possibilities. In his work, Synchronicity and a Causal Connecting Principle, Jung described these repeated coincidences as a form of a causal connection that is nevertheless deeply meaningful. These unexpected encounters, unplanned and unscheduled, yet happening perfectly at the right moment. The collective unconscious contains the whole spiritual heritage of mankind's evolution, born anew in the brain structure of every individual. According to Jung, this is not randomness, but the resonance of unconscious frequencies trying to connect. The love story of Paul McCartney a member of the legendary band The Beatles, and Linda Eastman, is a clear example of this phenomenon. They first met at a party in London in 1967, exchanged a few brief words, and parted ways in silence. But fate did not stop there. A few months later, in the vast city of New York, Paul and Linda accidentally met again at a concert. In a city of millions, they still found each other, as if the universe had arranged for their paths to cross. Not long after, they married and lived happily together for more than 3 decades. Those destined encounters are proof of what Jung once said. When an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate. This crossing of paths is not limited to love. It also appears in friendships, partnerships, or even with strangers. You might randomly bump into an old friend multiple times in different places, or coincidentally sit next to them on a distant flight, even though neither of you had planned it. These encounters seem too frequent to be mere coincidences. You may not immediately understand the significance of these repeated meetings, but the universe always has its reasons. Carl Jung believed that people who repeatedly show up in your life are manifestations of a part of your unconscious, trying to be seen, to be healed, or even to be loved. A famous example of this kind of destined coincidence is the story of Jim Lewis and Jim Springer, 2 twin brothers separated at birth, raised in different cities, completely unaware of each other's existence. But their lives were eerily similar. Both named Jim, both had dogs named Toy, both married women named Linda, divorced, and then married women named Betty. When they met for the first time at the age of 39, they were stunned by the unexplainable similarities. From Jung's perspective, this synchronicity was not just random, but a demonstration of how the collective unconscious operates, connecting similar souls even across thousands of miles. Carl Jung explained that when the unconscious minds of 2 people resonate, paths that seem random become destined intersections. The universe will continuously arrange for them to meet again, to continue unfinished stories. You can travel hundreds of miles, change jobs, move to a different environment, yet that person still appears in the most unexpected moments. This is not just coincidence. It is the thread of destiny weaving the story of 2 people. Jung once wrote, "We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life. And sometimes the person you keep meeting again and again is a mirror reflecting the parts of yourself you have yet to face. The universe arranges for you to meet them, to learn, to grow, and sometimes to heal wounds that remain unhealed. When you realize that you keep encountering someone in unexpected places, ask yourself if the universe is trying to send you a message. Not all coincidences are random. Some are the unconscious speaking, a calling from the soul, urging you to move closer to inner awakening. And who knows, those paths that always cross may be the doorway to the journey of individuation, where you and that person awaken, grow together, and continue writing the story that the universe has designed. When you continuously encounter someone on paths that seem random, have you ever stopped to ask, is this a coincidence, or is the universe trying to send me a message? Share your story below. Perhaps together we can discover the deeper meaning behind those seemingly coincidental encounters. Number 2. Decoding the signs through Jungian psychology. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." According to his philosophy, fated encounters are not merely orchestrated by the universe, but are also opportunities for us to explore our own selves through the mechanism of reflection, confront our inner shadows, and rediscover the missing pieces of ourselves through the other person. Sign 1. Projection. reflection from within. Jung believed that each person carries unconscious parts of themselves that are neither acknowledged nor resolved. When we meet someone, the unacknowledged aspects of our own self tend to project onto that person. This phenomenon is called projection. That is why sometimes you feel an inexplicable attraction or intense irritation towards someone that you cannot logically explain. For example, if you encounter someone with a strong, confident personality and you feel admiration or jealousy, it may be that the strength you admire is a hidden potential within you that is yet to be unlocked. Conversely, if you find yourself triggered by someone's indecisiveness or fear, it could be that you are seeing a reflection of your own unresolved insecurities. Jung called this the unconscious mind's attempt to communicate with the conscious mind, pushing us to confront and heal the parts of ourselves that we have rejected. In his book Psychological Types, Jung wrote, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." When we become aware of what we are projecting onto others, it is the first step toward understanding ourselves more deeply, opening the door for inner growth. A fascinating example is the story of Mark and Susan. Mark always felt annoyed whenever Susan procrastinated or couldn't make quick decisions. He would often judge and criticize her for her lack of decisiveness. However, after some time of self-reflection and practicing meditation, Mark realized that Susan's indecisiveness was actually a reflection of his own struggle with commitment and decision-making. Through this projection, he began to make peace with that aspect of himself and work towards self-improvement. However, projection sometimes does not stop at merely seeing ourselves in others. It also brings forth strong emotions, uncovering the deepest shadows we have long tried to forget. This is when the shadow, the hidden, darker aspects of our psyche, emerges, forcing us to confront and understand it. Sign 2. Shadow, the inner shadow. Jung believed that each person carries a part of darkness within them, repressed emotions, unresolved pains, and buried desires. He called this the shadow. When we enter a deep relationship, that very connection often stirs up this shadow, forcing us to confront what has been forgotten or ignored. Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This means that conflicts, wounds, or feelings of discomfort in a relationship are not signs of destruction, but opportunities for us to look deep into our inner wounds. Imagine you begin a passionate relationship with someone. Everything is beautiful at first, but then small disagreements gradually turn into major conflicts. You find yourself getting angrier, more vulnerable, and sometimes feeling out of control. In reality, that is the shadow within you rising up to be acknowledged. That person is merely a mirror, reflecting back what you have long tried to hide. Sign 3. Anima and animus, the masculine and feminine aspects within each person. However, not all reflections are shadows. In the journey of individuation, the universe also brings encounters to awaken the dormant aspects within each of us. This is when anima and animus, the masculine and feminine aspects of our soul, are awakened. Jung believed that within every man lies an ideal image of a woman. This is the anima. And conversely, within every woman exists an ideal image of a man. This is the animus. These archetypes are not mere fleeting images. They are representatives of inner completeness, the parts that each person must harmonize to become whole. When you meet someone who makes you feel more complete, stronger, or understand yourself on a deeper level, it may be a sign that they have awakened the anima or animus within you. You are not just attracted to their appearance or personality. You are drawn to them because they are the key to unlocking hidden parts of your soul. Number 3. Practical application. How to recognize and listen to the signs. When we understand how the universe sends signals through synchronicity, dreams, symbols, and meaningful relationships, the next step is to learn how to recognize and listen to those signs. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." The process of recognizing the universe's messages requires mindfulness and the ability to connect with oneself. Only when the mind is still can we hear the whispers from the depths of the unconscious. Number 1. Listen to intuition and observe synchronicities. Intuition is the language of the unconscious, the compass the universe places within each of us to guide us through life's crossroads. Jung believed that what we instinctively feel often stems from the deeper layers of the unconscious. It is not by chance that sometimes you feel a powerful urge when facing a decision or a strange sense of familiarity when you meet someone. That is the voice of intuition. Think back. Have you ever had the feeling of wanting to go to a certain place for no apparent reason, only to meet exactly the person you needed? Or perhaps you have thought intensely about someone, and suddenly you receive a message from them? Jung called these phenomena synchronicity, meaningful coincidences. This is when the universe communicates with you through events that seem random, yet carry deep significance. One way to enhance your ability to recognize these signals is to write down instances of synchronicity and repeated symbols in your daily life. Keep a small journal to note every detail, no matter how small. This can help you see the patterns the universe is weaving. For example, if you continuously see images of a butterfly everywhere, in pictures, in real life, on social media, ask yourself, is this a symbol of transformation and change that I need to pay attention to? Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Writing and observing are ways for you to bring hidden parts to light, to surface the unconscious messages, so you are no longer swept away by invisible currents with no clear direction. Number 2. Meditation and dream journaling. If intuition is the compass, then meditation is the path to returning inward, connecting with the pure energy of the universe. In meditation, the mind becomes still, the protective layers of consciousness are peeled back, and the messages from the unconscious can rise easily. Carl Jung practiced daily meditation to listen to the whispers from the depths of the soul. He called this process active imagination, a dialogue between consciousness and the unconscious to uncover hidden answers. In addition to meditation, keeping a dream journal is an excellent way to decode the universe's messages. Dreams are the language of the unconscious, a way for the mind to communicate with you when all barriers of consciousness are lowered. Jung believed that each dream carries a message, a fragment of the unconscious that is trying to be expressed. He wrote, "Dreams are the main outlet through which the unconscious communicates with the conscious mind." You can start by keeping a small notebook beside your bed. Every morning when you wake up, write down everything you remember from your dreams, even if it's just a fleeting image, a vague feeling, or a strange detail. As you track them over time, symbols will start to emerge. You may find yourself repeatedly dreaming of a house, a locked door, or a stranger who keeps appearing. This is how the unconscious speaks, inviting you to explore the deeper layers of your soul. Number 3. Surrender, don't resist. In the journey of connecting with the universe's messages, one important factor is learning not to resist. We often tend to deny things that cannot be explained by logic. A strange dream, a recurring coincidence, or a feeling of familiarity with a stranger is easily dismissed as hallucination or imagination. But in reality, it could be the powerful call of the unconscious. Jung believed that denial does not make those messages disappear. It only pushes them deeper into the unconscious. What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size. Instead of brushing it off, try to open your heart and listen. Sometimes, the answer does not come from reasoning, but from acceptance and understanding. One way to surrender is to meditate with gratitude. When you meditate, be grateful for the signs that appear. Be grateful for the dreams that guide you. Not everyone has the opportunity to hear the universe's whispers. Cherish each message, no matter how small it seems. When you learn to listen to intuition, meditate to connect with the unconscious, and surrender to the mystical signs, you will find that the universe is always whispering to you. It's just that sometimes we are not awake enough to hear it. And what about you? Have you ever had experiences like that? Have you ever dreamed of something that later became real, or encountered someone repeatedly in an inexplicable way? Share your story. Perhaps that is how the universe is communicating with you. Every encounter in life, whether brief or lasting, fleeting or profound, carries a certain meaning predestined by the universe. They are not mere coincidences. They are subtle signs sent from the collective unconscious, the space where all memories, symbols, and emotions of humanity are eternally preserved. The universe does not communicate with words, but it sends signals that, if you are sensitive and awakened enough, you will hear. These might be mysterious synchronicities, recurring dreams with strange symbols, or unplanned encounters that happen precisely at the right time. Each of these events is a fragment of destiny, a whisper from the universe that there is something waiting for you to discover. Carl Jung believed that every encounter carries a purpose far greater than ordinary social interaction. It is a journey that helps us confront our shadows, understand the missing parts within our anima and animus, and most importantly, propel us toward individuation, the process of becoming the truest version of ourselves. Through meaningful relationships, we not only see others, but we also see ourselves, with all our wounds, desires, and untapped potential. When you meet someone who makes your heart resonate in an unexplainable way, or someone who continuously crosses your path without any deliberate arrangement, take a moment to pause and listen to the call from within. Could it be that the universe is trying to teach you something? Could that person be a mirror, reflecting the parts of your unconscious that have yet to awaken? And could that encounter be a sign of a new journey you need to explore? When you are ready to embrace these signs with openness and understanding, you will find life becomes more meaningful. The people you meet are no longer just coincidences. They are messages from the universe sent to help you grow. So when the universe wants you to be with someone, do not be quick to deny it or rationalize it away. Instead, open your heart, listen, and walk forward with full awareness. Every encounter is a lesson. Every connection is a reminder from the universe that you are on the right path. And who knows, the person you happen to meet might just be the missing piece in your journey of individuation. Trust in those subtle signs. The universe never makes mistakes. Why is it that a careless comment from someone can linger in your mind for hours, even leaving you heartbroken for an entire week? Is it because you're too sensitive, too fragile? Or is there something deeper going on inside you? No. The issue isn't that you need to become tougher. It's not about pretending to be positive or suppressing your feelings as if they don't exist. And it's not about fighting the world to protect yourself from pain. You truly need to stop letting the outside world control you from within. When someone angers you, touches a nerve, or makes you feel like you're not enough, that's not a cue to react. It's a signal to understand that a part of you is still waiting to be seen. Carl Jung believed that strength doesn't come from shutting off emotions, but from understanding them. Not denial, but mastery. Because only when you know how your inner world works, the hidden beliefs, old wounds, and unconscious patterns, can you truly be free. And when that happens, no one and nothing can control you anymore. If you're exhausted from being ruled by your emotions, if you long for a peace no one can take away, then stay until the end of this video, because the journey you're about to begin could change the way you live, react, and feel forever. Number 1. The world you see is a reflection of your inner self. You don't see the world as it is. You see the world as you are. This isn't a metaphor, but a profound psychological truth, as Carl Jung and many modern psychoanalysts have pointed out. Every experience you have in life, whether it's a comment that wounds you or a glance that makes you feel inadequate, is not received neutrally. It passes through an invisible filter within you. Unprocessed memories, beliefs formed in childhood, wounds you've tried to forget, and the parts of yourself you refuse to acknowledge. Jung called this the shadow, the unconscious part cast out of the light of awareness, yet quietly shaping your reactions to the world. Not everyone responds the same way to a situation. Imagine two people being rejected in a relationship. One feels at peace, respects the other's decision, and continues with gratitude. The other spirals into crisis, self-blame, and confusion for weeks. What makes the difference? Not the event itself, but how each person interprets it from within their inner world. Jung once said, "It all depends on how we look at things, and not how they are in themselves." The reality you live in, then, is not purely reality. It is a conditioned translation shaped by your psychology. Most of the intense emotions we experience don't originate entirely in the present. They're the result of emotional wires laid down long ago. A single comment from your partner today might trigger the pain of abandonment you felt at age 5. A small criticism from a coworker might bring back the deep-seated feeling of not being good enough that haunted you throughout school. Jung called these complexes unconscious emotional clusters, formed through repeated experiences, activated by similar situations in the present. These complexes lie beneath your reactions like invisible fault lines, capable of unleashing emotional storms that you don't understand. The world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you, Jung once wrote. When you don't understand the unconscious parts of yourself, you become entangled in a game you don't even know you're playing. You project onto others the feelings that stem from within, a process Jung called projection. You see others as arrogant, cold, unfeeling, or selfish, without realizing that perhaps you're avoiding your own arrogance, coldness, or unmet need for care. Jung wrote in Psychological Reflections, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." When someone makes you angry, judgmental, or jealous, what you're feeling isn't just about them. It's the voice of an unaccepted part of yourself calling out. From childhood, each of us learns to cut off a part of ourselves to be accepted. A sensitive child may learn to act tough, to avoid being seen as weak. A strong-willed child may be forced to be obedient to be loved. And from there, a mask is formed, the persona, the social facade that Jung believed everyone wears. We learn to become who others want to see, while the rejected and suppressed parts of us continue to live in the shadows. The danger is, those parts never truly disappear. They return through intense emotional reactions, through dreams, or through the way we see others as mirrors reflecting parts of ourselves. We are not only shaped by personal memories, but also by the collective unconscious, a concept Jung described as the inherited reservoir of human experience. Archetypes live within us: the image of the mother, the father, the abandoned child, the hero, the traitor, not just from movies or books, but passed down through ancestral memory. This explains why we sometimes feel deeply moved by things that seem unrelated to our personal lives, because something deeper, older, is being stirred. When someone disrespects you, your anger may not only come from the present moment, but from a long buried history of not being seen, not being heard, not being acknowledged, wounds that were never named, even decades ago. The truth is, you can't fix the world to stop it from hurting you. There will always be someone who says the wrong thing, who does something that disappoints you. But you can understand why it affects you so deeply, and from there, gradually free yourself from the invisible trap of old emotional patterns. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Jung wrote this as a warning. Until you shine light on your unconscious, it will continue to run your life from the shadows, and you'll believe it's just destiny. So, observe yourself. Pause when you feel angry, hurt, or jealous, not to judge yourself, but to ask, what is this emotion trying to tell me? Maybe it's a fear of abandonment, a sense of inadequacy, a wound from when you were 10. Understanding begins with questions, that small questions, and slowly, the outer world will no longer feel like a threat, because you've learned how to decode yourself. The world you see is, in truth, a projection of your inner map onto reality. When you change that map, the world changes its color. It stops being a place where you're always on the defensive and becomes a mirror reflecting your journey of growth honestly, without pity, but also judgment. And from that place, you no longer need to try not to be hurt by others, because you now know who's really behind your reactions, or more precisely, the unconscious part of you. Number 2, understanding emotion. They are not the enemy. When you begin to realize that the external world is merely a reflection of your internal world, another door naturally opens, the door into the realm of emotion. Because if what we see is influenced by the unconscious, then emotion is the strongest signal the unconscious sends us every day. But instead of listening, most of us learn to confront, control, or escape from our emotions. We label them as problems, as weaknesses, as things that must be overcome. But Carl Jung would disagree. He wrote, "Emotion is the chief source of all becoming. There can be no transformation of darkness into light and of apathy into movement without emotion. Emotions are not the enemy. They are the raw material for human growth, evolution, and healing." One of the biggest misunderstandings in personal development is the belief that negative emotions must be eliminated. You may have heard things like, "Don't be afraid, be strong. Anger only makes things worse," or "Weakness is a sign of failure." As a result, you learn to bury emotions, suppress them, pretend you're fine, while inside a storm, bruise in silence. But emotions don't disappear just because you ignore them. They only sink deeper into the unconscious and wait for a chance to erupt, usually in ways you don't expect. Jung warned clearly about this in The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious. What you resist persists. What you try to deny will continue to exist and affect you from the shadows. Try shifting your perspective. Every emotion carries a message. Like a friend who doesn't speak gently, but always tells the truth. When you feel fear, it's not merely a sign of weakness, but a reminder of your need for safety, of where you need stronger boundaries or where you lack trust in yourself. When you feel anger, it's not something bad. Anger is a flame that signals a boundary has been crossed, that you are giving too much, or being treated in a way that doesn't honor your true worth. And when you feel hurt, it may not be because someone is cruel, but because a deep memory in you has been awakened. An old wound, long thought forgotten, has been touched. Emotions always have a reason. The question is, are you willing to listen? Listening to emotion doesn't mean being ruled by it. It is an art. To remain aware while being soft enough to receive the message that the emotion brings. Jung didn't promote drowning in emotion, but he believed that avoiding emotion was a sure way for it to return as disorder. In a famous letter he wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Enlightenment doesn't come from imagining light, but from having the courage to face the darkness. And the first darkness you must walk through is the emotion you were taught you shouldn't feel. Imagine you are driving and the warning light on your dashboard turns on. That's emotion. You have two choices: smash the light because it annoys you, or stop to check what's going on. Most of us choose the first option: ignore, avoid, or numb ourselves through work, entertainment, or addictive habits. But the more you avoid, the more your internal system deteriorates. Emotion doesn't disappear. It will find a way to speak through anxiety, exhaustion, or even illness. Jung saw this more clearly than anyone, devoting his life to studying the connection between psychological conflict and psychosomatic symptoms. A vivid example of listening to emotion is the story of a female client Jung mentioned in Modern Man, In Search of a Soul. She experienced panic every time she entered a crowded room. At first, she thought she was just shy, but after diving into dream analysis and emotions, Jung helped her see that her fear of crowds wasn't just personality. It was the result of a memory of being humiliated in front of the class as a child. The fear of being seen and judged had left a mark on her soul for years. And every time she walked into a crowded space, her body reacted as if returning to that moment. Once the memory was brought into the light and the emotion was heard instead of avoided, the panic began to fade, not with medication, but with understanding. Emotions, then, are gateways to your true self. They are not enemies to be defeated, but loyal messengers knocking on your door each day. If you learn to welcome them without judgment, without labeling them as good or bad, you will begin to see the endless depth within yourself and from there become more whole. Jung emphasized this in Ion. The acceptance of the shadow is the apprentice work of a lifetime. Accepting unwanted emotions is the first lesson and also the lifelong journey of anyone who wants to become whole in spirit. The modern world makes us productive, but disconnected from emotion. We're taught to think, to plan, to analyze, but rarely taught how to sit with sadness or to listen to fear without pushing it away. As a result, we live as walking heads, cut off from the body and heart that are trying to speak. But you cannot heal if you continue to mute what's screaming inside you. When you begin to truly sit with emotion, not to drown in it, but to observe, you'll see something strange happen. Emotion begins to transform itself. Anger can become clarity. Fear can lead you to better preparation. Hurt can turn into compassion for yourself and others. This is the process of alchemical transformation, the psychological shift that Jung saw as the core of all healing journeys. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. and you cannot become your true self if you reject your emotions, because they are the most alive, honest, and profound part of you. Number 3. Awareness and observation, the first step to not being controlled. Once you no longer see emotions as the enemy, but as companions carrying vital messages from within, you begin to change how you face yourself. But understanding emotion is not enough. The next step, and the key to mastering your inner world, is learning to observe the emotion without getting swept away by it. This is a subtle and profound skill that Carl Jung spent much of his life studying and describing. Becoming the inner witness. Jung called this observing part the self, the whole self, the center of the entire psychological structure, where every part of you, light and shadow alike, can be seen without being fused with. Not everyone is aware that they're being controlled by their emotions. Usually we don't feel angry, we become angry. We don't experience fear, we are consumed by fear. Jung described this process as a loss of center. The possession of the self is a rare achievement, and not one that can be gained by any easy means. Possessing the self, the observing center, is an achievement, and it does not come through forced self-control. It comes from awareness, from the ability to step back just slightly and witness the whole experience as though watching another part of yourself react, without being swallowed by it. A simple yet powerful example is when someone insults you. Their words shoot straight into your sense of self-worth. Anger flares up instantly. But if in that moment you can pause even for a beat, and instead of reacting, ask yourself, what's happening inside me right now? You will feel yourself begin to separate from the emotion, to observe it, to question it. That is the moment of awareness. And within that moment, a new kind of freedom opens up. You are no longer the reaction. You are the one observing the reaction. That's the space Viktor Frankl, who endured the horrors of a concentration camp, described in his famous words, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Jung didn't use the word space like Frankl, but the concept runs throughout his analyses, especially in his work on engaging with the unconscious. When you fully identify with a part of yourself, anger, pain, or jealousy, you lose choice. You react as if hypnotized. But when you can observe that part without merging with it, you enter a state Jung called holding the tension of the opposites, maintaining the tension between two poles, the part that feels and the part that witnesses. This is not detachment or numbness. It is a higher state of awareness, where you are no longer just the one being affected. You are the one who is present. This idea is also connected to a deep spiritual symbol Jung often used, the mandala, the sacred circle representing the whole soul. In Memories, Dreams, Reflections, he recounts many dreams and experiences in which the mandala appeared when his mind was in turmoil. He wrote, "I saw that everything, all paths I had been following, all steps I had taken, were leading back to a single point, that is, to the center. That center is the self, the still point in the emotional storm. When you connect to the self, you are no longer spinning with every reaction. You become the one holding the axis, the stillness in the noise." Practicing this doesn't require climbing a mountain or meditating for hours. It starts in the small moments of everyday life. When you hear a criticism, instead of snapping back, you breathe. You let the emotion rise, then ask, what part of me is feeling hurt? When you catch yourself comparing with someone on social media and feeling inadequate, you pause and ask, what story am I believing about my worth? Each time you ask such questions, you activate the inner witness, stepping out of the maze of automatic reactions. Carl Jung believed that self-observation is not just a psychological skill, it is a sacred act. In Psychology and Alchemy, he wrote, "The self is not only the center, but also the whole circumference which embraces both conscious and unconscious. It is the center of this totality. When you stand in the position of the self, you no longer divide yourself into good, bad, right, wrong, strong, weak. You see that every part of you, even anger, hurt, and fear, belongs to your wholeness. And from that full acceptance, deep peace begins to emerge." A story that illustrates this is of a man Jung once treated. He was a highly competent doctor, but often lost his temper with patients and colleagues. As they explored further, Jung discovered that the man carried an idealized internal image of the kind person, the one who's always in control. Every time he got angry, he didn't just feel guilty. He saw it as proof that he was a failure. This harsh self-image prevented him from observing the anger, and instead, he was consumed by it. When Jung helped him learn to view anger as a valid part of the soul, not rejected, not identified with, the anger slowly lost its grip. He no longer had to suppress his anger, because it had been seen and thus no longer needed to shout. Awareness isn't about becoming supernatural or saintly. It's the ability to recognize what's happening inside you without losing yourself to it. It is the choice not to have to reply immediately, not to have to react out of habit, not to live like a system on autopilot. Jung believed, freedom stretches only as far as the limits of our consciousness. True freedom exists only where there is awareness. When you don't know what's running you, you are not free. No matter how loudly you shout, "I control my life." And the good news is, awareness can be practiced. You can learn how to pause, how to breathe, how to take a step back to see the full picture instead of being caught in the stream of emotion. Each time you do that, you're building a mental muscle, deepening your connection with the self, the calm, clear, unshakable part of you that is never dictated by the outside world. When you live from the self, you no longer need others to change for you to feel peace. You don't need circumstances to be perfect to feel okay, because that okayness comes from within, from the place where you can see both your light and your shadow, and remain fully present. If there is any place in this world that no one can touch, that nothing can shake, it is inside you. Not the pleasant, positive, successful part, but the deepest, most central part, where you become a witness to yourself. When you live from that place, you no longer need to become untouchable to stay safe. You only need to be fully present with yourself. Number 4. A practice framework, responding to what throws you off balance. Once you've experienced the moment of separating yourself from emotion, when you're no longer consumed by it, but can observe it as a silent witness, you'll realize that freedom is real. But it doesn't arrive by magic. It doesn't come from a sudden flash of enlightenment. It is built through consistent practice, like a psychological muscle, like a flame kept alive each day through mindful attention. Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." Awareness is not born in comfort. It demands your presence at the very moment everything in you wants to run. And here, we step into the terrain of practice, concrete steps to engage with what throws you off balance. No theory, no lofty philosophy, just how you meet an emotion when it knocks on your door. The first step in that journey, seemingly simple but deeply important, is naming the emotion. When you're angry, you might yell, "Go silent," or walk away. But rarely do you pause and say in your mind, "This is anger." When you're anxious, you may rush to control or avoid, but seldom do you acknowledge this is fear. Naming the emotion is not just about recognition. It's a way to bring emotion out of the unconscious shadow and into the light of awareness. In many modern psychological approaches, this is known as labeling. But for Jung, this is where psychological transformation begins. An emotion, when named, becomes seen, and what is seen no longer controls you from the dark. But naming the emotion is not enough. Next, return to the body, the place where emotion is not just a concept, but a vivid experience. Jung was not a neuroscientist, but he understood the deep link between emotion and the body. In Psychological Types, he wrote, "The tension between opposites is not only a psychological fact, it expresses itself somatically. Every psychological conflict shows up in the body. So when you're feeling something intense, ask, where do I feel this in my body? It could be a tightness in your chest, a twist in your stomach, a wave of heat rising in your throat. When you come back to the physical sensation, you're bringing yourself into the present, no longer lost in past narratives or imagined futures. You can live fully in the moment, the only place where you have the power to choose how to respond. And then you breathe, not to calm down, as if forcing yourself into control, but to create space. When you inhale, you acknowledge the emotion is here. When you exhale, you invite softness. No resistance, no avoidance, no judgment. You sit with the emotion as you would with a hurting friend. No advice needed, no fixing required. Just presence. In Modern Man in Search of a Soul, Jung wrote, "Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. Happiness and suffering are not enemies, they are the in and out breath of the same life. And you can learn to breathe with both." From that quiet space, a natural question will arise. What does this emotion want? This is the moment you go deeper, beneath the surface of feeling, to the message it carries. Anger doesn't come just to make you explode. It comes to tell you your boundaries have been crossed. Anxiety doesn't appear just to make you suffer. It highlights where you're unprepared, where you lack foundation or need support. Hurt doesn't arrive to make you weak. It comes to show you a part of yourself once abandoned, now asking to be embraced. Jung once wrote in the Red Book, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." To truly awaken, you must learn to listen to your inner voice, and emotion is one of its most delicate languages. After listening, ask, what part of me is being triggered? This step helps you connect with the deeper patterns inside you, old beliefs, buried memories, and parts of the shadow you haven't yet recognized. Maybe it's the inner child who was abandoned, who was scolded for expressing emotion, who had to grow up too fast to be loved. And now, when someone rejects or hurts you, that part rises and takes over your reaction. But you are not that child anymore. You can identify it, hold it, and reassure it with the presence of your adult self. "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become," Jung wrote in one of his most quoted lines. And this is the moment where you get to choose. Finally, ask, what do I need to step out of this reaction honestly and healthily? Maybe you need courage to say what you've never dared to say. Maybe you need compassion for yourself or someone else. Maybe you need to set a clear boundary to protect yourself from what no longer serves you. Every emotion, when listened to and understood, leads you back to a core value longing to be lived. And when you act from that value, instead of from reactivity, you begin to walk on your own feet, no longer pulled by the past or pushed around by fear. Jung never promised this journey would be easy, but he knew it was the only path that led to truth, and therefore, to freedom. In Psychological Reflections, he wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. It is frightening to face all of yourself, but that is also the door to peace. When you dare to look at your emotions, to name them, sit with them, listen, and act from a place of awareness, you are no longer a victim of the world, but the true master of your own life." Number 5. Freeing yourself from the need for approval and validation. When you've learned to observe emotions without being swept away by them, when you can name them, breathe with them, listen, and act from a place of awareness, you begin to see one thing clearly. Many of your most intense emotions don't stem from the event itself, but from the fear of being judged or rejected. Perhaps nothing destabilizes a person more easily than the feeling of not being accepted by others. Whether it's a stranger's glance, a negative comment, or silence from a loved one, any of these can make you question your worth. And without enough awareness, you may end up trading your true self for a fleeting sense of external validation. According to Carl Jung, the fear of rejection isn't just a personal issue, it's a collective inheritance from the unconscious, which he called the collective unconscious. In The Structure and Dynamics of the Psyche, Jung wrote, "Man is not only an individual, he is also the collective man. We do not live as isolated individuals. Our psychology is woven from thousands of years of evolution, from a time when our survival depended on being accepted by the tribe. Back then, rejection meant death. And although we no longer need a tribe for biological survival, our brains and instincts have not been reprogrammed. The unconscious still registers rejection as a threat to existence, and that's why we so easily lose ourselves in the effort to please others. The dependency on external judgment often begins early. A child learns that when they are obedient, quiet, and pleasing, they receive praise and love. When they cry, express anger, or say something inappropriate, they're criticized, ignored, or even punished. Gradually, the child learns to disconnect from their authentic self to survive, and instead constructs a social mask, the persona, just as Jung described. That mask grows with the child, becoming the version of themselves they present to the world. The perfect one, the nice one, the one who doesn't cause trouble. But the mask is never the whole person. Jung warned in The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious. The persona is a compromise between individual and society as to what a man should appear to be. When you live too long in the persona, you forget who you are and begin to live as an edited version created for others' acceptance. The danger of relying on external validation isn't in wanting to be loved. That's completely human. The danger lies in losing your ability to self-validate. Each time you alter your behavior for approval, you gradually drift from your inner voice. You begin choosing careers, partners, lifestyles, not based on what brings you alive, but on what earns you praise. And sooner or later, you wake up in a life that looks right on the outside but feels empty. That's the cost of outsourcing your self-worth. To break free of that dependency, you don't need to become cold or indifferent. What you need is to rebuild your connection with inner values, with the self, which Jung saw as the center of the individuation process. He believed that only when a person begins to define their worth from within, rather than through external reflection, do they truly enter psychological maturity. In 2 essays on analytical psychology, he wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. The greatest privilege of life is to become your true self, but you cannot do that if you're still bound by the expectations and eyes of others. This process begins with honesty toward yourself. Pause for a moment and ask, am I doing this because it genuinely matters to me, or because I think it will please others? That question may shake what you thought was solid in your life. But it's also the sign of a life being led by truth, not by fear. From there you can begin building inner authenticity, learning to recognize your efforts, to acknowledge your true feelings, to stand up for the values you believe in, even when others don't agree. This isn't easy. You may lose a few relationships that only existed because you were good at accommodating. You may feel alone for a while because you no longer say the right things people want to hear. But you'll start to notice something profound. You begin to attract people who truly see you, not your mask. These connections are deeper, more genuine, less noisy, but far more nourishing. And above all, you'll feel something you once only felt when others approved of you: peace. But this time, it comes from within. Jung never claimed this journey was linear. He understood that people often go through many psychological deaths and rebirths in the process of shedding the mask and stepping into their true selves, but it's a journey that cannot be replaced. In memories, dreams, reflections, he shared, "The most important question anyone can ask is, what myth am I living? What story are you living? The story society handed to you, or the one your soul wants to tell?" When you begin to listen to yourself, you no longer need acceptance from everyone, because you've begun to accept yourself. Freeing yourself from others' eyes doesn't mean becoming selfish. On the contrary, it's the moment you become sincere, free, and fully present. It's the greatest gift you can give yourself, and the most beautiful thing you can offer the world. A person who lives true, lives deep, lives fully. Number 6. True freedom. You cannot control the world, but you can master yourself. Once you dare to step out of dependency on how others see you, you will discover a new space opening within. A quiet inner field, no longer ruled by praise or criticism, right or wrong, or social expectations. And it is precisely there that you begin to touch a concept Carl Jung saw as the core of every inner journey: true freedom. Not the kind of freedom that comes from being left alone, not freedom in the social or material sense, but freedom in how you respond to life. Jung once wrote, "We cannot change anything unless we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. You cannot change the world by resisting it, but you can change how you perceive that world, and from there, begin to truly master yourself. The world will not stop challenging you. People will still say things you don't like. Loss, disappointment, and misunderstanding will come in their own time and form. But you are no longer the fragile leaf tossed by every wind. You become a steady root in the storm. Not because you've built walls against the world, but because you've tapped into a deeper layer of consciousness where you are no longer fused with every emotion, every thought, every judgment. Jung called this place the self, the unchanging center of the psyche, the anchor point between light and shadow, between reason and feeling. When you live from the self, you're no longer knocked down by circumstance. You observe, you choose how to respond, and most importantly, you don't lose yourself in the process. A woman once shared with Jung that she always felt uneasy when others disagreed with her. Instead of trying to convince her that the feeling was wrong, Jung guided her to observe it, to explore the fear of rejection beneath it, and to gradually detach from the need for agreement. When she began to pause rather than react immediately, to breathe, to witness, she no longer felt small in the face of disagreement. She didn't change other people. She changed the way she interpreted the world, and from that shift, freedom began to grow. Carl Jung believed that true freedom doesn't come from control, but from deep acceptance of reality. In The Undiscovered Self, he wrote, "Freedom stretches only as far as the limits of our consciousness. Freedom exists only within the bounds of your awareness. And when you live consciously, when you stop running from experience and instead learn to fully inhabit it, you no longer need the world to change. You are the one who has changed. And that is the greatest liberation of all. When you live from your true self, from the self, you're no longer dragged around by old wounds, unconscious reactions, or the need for others to validate your worth. You no longer need to force yourself to appear strong, nor do you have to shut out your emotions, because you understand that peace doesn't come from controlling everything around you. It comes from understanding what's happening within. And when you're brave enough to return to that deeper part of yourself, you stop being a victim of life. You become its master. Carl Jung once said something simple, yet it illuminates an entire way of living. Till you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate, which means, until you shine a light inside, your life will be governed by the parts you don't see, and you'll believe it's destiny. But the beautiful truth is, you can start right now. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to start asking questions, observing, listening. When an emotion arises, instead of pushing it away, ask, what in me is trying to speak? When someone hurts you, instead of reacting, breathe and ask, what story am I believing that makes this hurt so much? Every time you do that, you take one step closer to the true center of yourself. The path to liberation isn't out there. It begins with a very small but courageous decision to live truthfully. And that is the only path that leads you to the place where no one can take away your inner peace, because it no longer depends on anyone or anything outside of you. If you're still on the journey of self-discovery, if something in this video has touched a deeper part of you, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. What was the moment that made you realize, I've been living in reaction for too long and not truly from my center? Leave a comment that says, I choose to live from the self, if you're ready to begin your journey home to yourself. And don't forget to hit subscribe, so we can continue this path of awakening together.